If you don't like to talk about money, you have no business being a creator, being an entrepreneur, or wanting to start a business. And you know how much I don't like to waste your time. My conversations with you have no fluff in them. So I'll politely ask that you leave now because I actually want to talk about money. And I don't want it to be awkward for you. But if you decide to stay, I can guarantee you that it will be worth your time. So I want to share the details of my finances as a creator over the last 2 years with you. And this is not to brag. This isn't to sell you a course. But because I believe that the space is enough for us all to win. And gatekeeping information doesn't really serve anyone. So here's what we're doing today. I'm going to break down exactly how I made over $100K from Instagram in 2 years while running other businesses and being a stay-at-home dad. And I'm going to show you the real numbers, the mistakes I made, the systems I used, and most importantly, the framework you can actually replicate and get results from. And one of the things I learned during my time being a creator who has gone all out with understanding more about money and being able to talk about it in such a way that I can actually generate income for myself and to also raise my family is that most creators are chasing the wrong thing. They're chasing views, they're chasing virality, they're chasing brand deals, and they're broke. Or at best, they're making inconsistent money that disappears the moment they stop posting. So I'm going to show you a very different way. And it's not anything fantastic or anything new that no one has done before. It's the same systems you hear about every single time. It's literally what all these online gurus and everybody probably tells you to do, but not in the way you should actually do it. They give you the numbers, they give you the figures, what it looks like, and then they feed you a bunch of things that is probably outdated or is just also culture and doesn't really show you the details on how to go through it in a way that actually makes you sane, doesn't drive you crazy. So let's start with the breakdown, because I think it's important for me to show you where the money actually came from. So, shall we? All right. Now, from Instagram, the platform itself, I made $0. Yeah, you heard that right. $0 from Instagram itself. Despite getting over 80 to 90 million views, nothing really changed. I didn't make anything from the platform itself. And I think you should know this, if you sort of use Instagram. And this should tell you that everything around building a brand shouldn't just be around going viral or building your brand around viral content. No. Viral content doesn't pay your bills. Instagram doesn't care how many views you get. They are not cutting you checks. So let that stick in your head. Then the next place where I made a lot of money was from brand deals, sponsorships, and I made about $64,000. Now, this sounds really good. $64,000 over 2 years. It's amazing. That's like some people's, 2-year salary combined. But here's the problem with sponsorships. You only get paid when you post. And videos honestly take a lot of weeks to make. Even if you're the best editor, the best director, whatever it is, it will still take your time, which makes your income a little bit inconsistent. You're essentially trading time for money at scale, which is just a fancier way to say that you're working in 9 to 5, if I'm being honest. Now, some months I made about 5,000. Other months I make nothing because I'm at the mercy of brands, marketing budgets, and posting schedules. So it's just very, very messy. But then this now brings me to the sweet spot, which is like a way to sort of be on a really good track. And it's with digital products. Now, for my digital products, I made $14,000 the first year, which was 2023. In 2024, I made $22,000. And so far this year, I've made $14,000. Last time I sort of talked about this, it was 12,000, and in just like 2 weeks, I made another 2,000. So where I'm going with this is that everything changed for me the moment I started putting out products. And these are not products like courses and all of that, things that people can use every day. I'm talking about media kits, I'm talking about Canva templates and stuff like that. They're very simple, very basic, but they add value to people's lives and people pay for them heavily. And they're small numbers, but they add up to something big and they're consistent. Ebooks, podcast workshops, stuff like that. And this is the money that made me realize that I could actually build something sustainable. I could build a business from being a creator. Now, I then went further because I had some level of experience with video editing and commission videos. So from that alone, I made about $25,000, and that was good. And this was surviving money in the beginning. I was taking editing jobs to pay rent while I figured out this whole creator business thing. And in total, if you put everything together, that's over $100,000. And now, before you think, well, that's not that much for 2 years, remember that I'm doing this while being a stay-at-home dad and running 2 other businesses. So this isn't my only income stream. But what's more important for you to understand now is that this taught me something very, very critical about building a creator business. The truth nobody tells you most times is that creators who struggle are the ones who focus on going viral and looking presentable to brands. The truth is that most of the time you optimize for views, you optimize for engagement, you optimize for making yourself attractive to sponsors. And that's not bad in itself. But the flip side is this, that the creators who build sustainable careers, they use their platforms to sell their own products. They use the things that they have to get the things that they want. So you spend 5 years, you spend 3 years, you spend 2 years building your audience, building your platform. You can monetize that. It doesn't sound that crazy, isn't it? It sounds simple, but I'm going to walk you through more, so don't worry, stay with me. Now, when I launched my first digital product in February 2023, I made about $200, $300 within the first few months. It wasn't impressive at all. I felt like, what is the point of all of these things, right? I was still taking editing jobs to just manage and sort of get by. And then there was a month where everything just went crazy. Like, I think it was about 900 pounds, because I'm in the UK, and it was about 900 pounds, which was roughly $1,100 just from my digital products. And that felt big. I'm like, okay, if I could do this, then I can do more. I can eat consistent months. And which was interesting, a few months after that, from 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000. And at the time, so far, the highest I recorded was $8,000, about $10,000 actually, 8,000 pounds in a month. And it was the same content I was creating. It was the same audience, but I discovered a different business model. And this is where things get wild, because I wasn't creating more content. I wasn't posting more. I wasn't getting more views than before. I just changed what I was selling and how I was selling it. And that's a difference, because with sponsorships, I get paid once I post. But then with digital products, I get paid every time someone buys, which can happen while I'm sleeping, while I'm with my son, while I'm doing literally anything else. So at the start, I was trading time for money, but then over time, when I built my products, I basically started, building assets that could self-generate income by itself. So yeah, that's pretty much how the thing went. But at this point, I feel like I should let you in on one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was doing this, right? Because it got real very fast, you know. And this is the part that most people don't like to talk about. While I was still sort of making 200, 300, 400, it wasn't so bad. I could easily send people emails. I could send you DMs. I'll respond to you, and I was sort of trying to catch up with everybody. It was that time that Instagram introduced the filter thing where you could tag people as leads, as yeah, you could tag people based on leads, something. I can't remember the exact details now, but Instagram did that, which was really good. But when I started hitting 1,000, 2,000, it was total chaos. Because while I could easily and manually fulfill orders, while I could easily send DMs, process payments through different platforms, that was working. But then it got messy the moment the fees or the number of customers, the number of people who were buying from me started increasing, because I couldn't be doing, there was a time I had to fulfill like 24 different orders in a day. And that was crazy, like having to manage so many people at the same time. And I realized I was drowning. I was trying to manage being a dad. I was trying to run photo poll. It was just so messy. I was juggling like 5 different platforms. I was using PayPal at some point. I was using Bloom. So many apps. There was Thinkific. So many apps, right? And I just thought to myself, like, I can't keep doing this. I can't really keep doing this. Manual payment, manual fulfillment. It was just so messy. Now, one of the key things I learned from that is that you can't scale a creator business on manual processes. You just can't. Like, you really just can't. And recently, I told myself that I want to actually increase my creator business to $10,000 a month, which is a really nice goal, but I really need to find a better infrastructure to make all of this work. And I mean, I've been using a platform now that has been really good, so I'm not going to talk about them here. But one of the things you need to understand is that you need to have a system that works in a way like this, where if Instagram is your main platform, for example, and you want to promote your product, right? Someone sends you a DM, you do the old ManyChat, integration thing, and then someone comments a word, and then instantly you send them a DM, they get an automated response of your product link, and then if it's to their taste or to their liking, the purchase, and then payment is processed immediately, automatically, and then the product is delivered instantly to their emails. You don't need to be doing manual fulfillments. And then before you know it, based on how you set up your funnel, your email sequences are triggered, and basically you're building relationship on autopilot. You can track your sales all in one space. You can see everything at a glance, how your money is coming in, all of those things. And then you get to even do, like, if you want to integrate communities into what you do, you can find platforms that do all of these things. The key here is that you need to have systems that work while you're asleep. While my son is sleeping, while I'm also sleeping, I don't have to be working on, fulfilling orders and all of those things. It's on repeat, and that works so well. And I'm going to share an update with you on how this goes. So remind me, let's say in 2 months, all right? Now, I'm thinking, or you're probably thinking, well, Dimeji or Dim, this is a really great story, but how do I actually do this? So let us actually break it down. And let's see if you can potentially replicate this. Now, this might sound very cliche, but the first thing, very important, is to build an audience around a specific problem you can solve. I don't know if you noticed that I didn't say go viral. I said build an audience. There are 2 different things. Going viral means random people see your content once and they forget about you. But then building an audience means that the right people see your content, it resonates with them, and they keep coming back or they stay with you. And for me, that problem was, how do creators build sustainable businesses? It's ironic, right? That was what I saw because I struggled with it. I found a solution and then I started talking about it, right? How do you make money from your content without burning out and relying on brand deals? That was my entire business model. Strange, but that is it. And I started thinking about it. What problems can I solve for people? So you should ask yourself the same question. What problem do you solve? What do people always, ask you about the most? Think about it. What are those things that, in a given day, someone would say, oh, you're really good at this thing and I'll really love for you to pull me through or help me in a way. You need to find a way to get those things into the minds of people. Start thinking about it. Are there ways for you to use your experience to help others with what they're struggling with? Start there. So, just to give you again, build an audience around a specific problem you can solve. I'm not saying you should be a jack of all trades. I'm not saying you should do 50 things. Do one thing. After you've done that one thing successfully, you can then find ways to scale it or to diversify into other things. But start with one thing. Very important. Sorry. I think I should have actually gotten water because my throat is already getting dry. Now, the next thing now will be to, how do I put this? Create content that demonstrates your expertise. What are you particularly good at? Create content around that. It is very important. This is where most people mess up. They create content to go viral instead of creating content that builds trust. And you need to realize that every piece of content I make is designed to either teach something valuable, shift someone's perspective, or give them a framework they can use immediately. And if you follow me on Instagram, you can attest to this. If I'm lying, just let me know. And I'm not trying to entertain you or anything. I'm not trying to help you. Entertainment might get people views, but education builds buyers in the long run. Now, it's not the typical educational content like tips and tricks. No, actually teach something. Teach something. Very important. Teach something. So if we'll go over that again, it will be to create content that demonstrates your experience, your skills, your expertise. What's that thing you're really good at? Create content that teaches people about it. Something valuable, something that shifts their perspective, or a framework that can help them do something that gives them results. Very, very important. Now, I think I'm on number 3 now, right? You need to then think around creating a product that solves that problem at scale. And the truth about this is that you can't help everyone. The truth is you don't even have the time. And most people can't afford, say, having sessions with you one-on-one anyways. So agree, just accept that. Accept that. An idea for me right now, which was what I did, was I created one digital product. It was just a course, but it wasn't a normal course. It was like an audio course because I felt like it was quite messy for people to sit down and be watching videos. If you can plug it in your ears, you have the possibility of listening to it over and over and over and over again. And that was where I cracked the code. Audio course. How nice. I thought to myself, what kind of course would I want to find? Would I love the most? And I feel like would give me the best results. And for me, it was an audio course because I could easily just be doing the dishes and I'm listening to it. And you don't realize that what you're listening to subconsciously is changing your mind. You remember it in the middle of the day, you can easily take action. And I just packaged a few other things, a workbook, some other things together, and it became a product. But in your own case, A digital product could be a course, a template, a framework, or a resource. Just make sure that it is something that solves the problem for people without requiring your direct time, if that makes sense. Because I talked about it, like you're no longer trading time for money. All right. And for me, like I already mentioned, that was teaching creators how to build their own digital products and automate their business. And like I said, it's the same thing every other person is doing. But then I wanted to understand my people a lot more, my audience. I spent 4 years actually, because the first time I did something remotely related to digital products was 2019, 2020. It was a how to podcast workshop and it became an ebook. And you know what, let me just give you the strategy for that one quickly. So I had this plan. I want to do a podcast workshop and people are going to pay 10,000 naira for it in Nigerian naira. 10,000 naira. That was 2020, in the middle of lockdown, where most people were not like really working. The world was in chaos. And I'm like, do I think people will pay for money like this? But I still went ahead anyway. And this was what I did. So the goal was to do a podcast workshop because I'd been podcasting for 2 years and I'd shared the journey and the process. You know, the podcast has grown really big. So I'm like, what better time to teach people something I know? And the idea was to do a podcast workshop that people would pay 10,000 naira for. But I'm like, let me work backwards. How can I start with something small? So I worked backwards. I started with doing Instagram lives twice a week to talk about podcasting, my experience, and how people can start a podcast. I did that for 4 weeks. And then the next thing I did after the 4 weeks, and that was when I saw that my Instagram lives were jumping from 30 people to 215 people, 230 people, sometimes even 400 people watching me talk about podcasting, which was interesting. And then after the 4 weeks, I did a short webinar, just 2 hours. And in the 2 hours, I didn't want to make it free because people might not take it seriously. So I charged it at 500 naira. And I got over, I think, close to like 117 or 118 people join. I mean, calculate that. That's some kind of money, which was cool. But remember, the goal was a workshop. People will pay some, fairly significant amount for. And then after the webinar, I just took a break. And then I started pumping up more podcast episodes and people were seeing it and all of that. But I made sure that from the webinar, about 20 people started their own podcast. They created all of the artworks, all of those things, started with their phones to record. They used Anchor to start, and that was good. And then 2 months later, I started doing promotion, I started doing marketing and all of that for the workshop. And then the workshop, I got a couple people to join me, to do the sessions together because there were some people who had been podcasting as well, who were sort of big names. And then it was time to do the workshop, 10,000 naira, and I had 78 people register for the workshop, 3 days. And that was 780,000 naira for me, which was amazing. I'm like, nice. And that was what I used to buy my first camera and some of the other gadgets I had at the time. But you can see the strategy there. I had the end goal. It took me 6 months to get there, but then I knew that I needed to create content, build trust to get people to a place where they can buy from me. Exactly the same thing you want to do. Now, going back to what I was saying, you need to find a way to package something. It could be your knowledge. What will people pay you for? What systems have you built that others need? What do you know how to do that? If someone else learns it, it is freedom for them. And then once you've been able to get that, then build a system around it because it is the best thing to do. It is that's what brings everything together. Think about it. That is the infrastructure that you need, but most people skip it. And that's why they stay stuck in that inconsistent income phase. So what are the things you need? Very simple. You need a way to capture leads. So you're thinking email list, DMs, or whatever you think works best. You need a way to capture leads. And then you need a way to nurture those leads. So think of email sequences or content. Very important. And then you need a way to sell. Landing pages, checkout pages, and those kind of things. And then how do you deliver it? So an automated fulfilling system in such a way that the person clicks buy, automatically they get the email or the product or whatever it is. And then the last thing now is you need something like some sort of support. So whether it is email automation that you set up that, after the first 2 days of the person buying it, a follow-up email goes to them. After 7 days, a follow-up email goes to them. After 21 days, stuff like that. You can even set up frequently asked questions in your DMs or via email or on your website or your landing page or on Linktree. You can set up these things, very basic things. They don't cost you time. They don't take you years to do. You can do that. Because without this kind of system, you keep trading time for money at scale. And I can guarantee you that with this kind of system, you are building an asset that compounds over time. Now, the last thing in this whole process of how to do it is to then optimize and scale. Once the system is working, you don't need to reinvent it. You just need to send more people into that system, more content, more audience growth. That's just what you should focus on, right? And then improve conversion rates. You could think of better copies, like refine your products, make sure that your follow-up is a lot better. How do you improve conversion rates? And then you can then think of creating additional products where you can upsell or maybe different price points. Think of it that way. Very important. For example, for me, I have something called Creator Cash Flow Kit. And that's the main thing I sell. And then when I realized that was really doing well and it was really making everything easy, but then I realized that a couple of people might not be able to afford it. And then I started doing the Creator Cash Flow Starter Pack, which is like very, very basic, very entry level, but then it still helps you with getting results within the first, say, 3 to 4 months of using it. And that's it. That's the entire framework. Now, I need to be honest with you about something very important. My revenue line was flat for a really, really long time before it finally started to rise. Like I spent the first year of my creator business making almost nothing. I was taking editing jobs to pay rent. I've said this over and over again. And I was questioning if this would ever work. I was watching other creators blow up overnight while I was sort of grinding. It was almost like I was being pushed into the shadows, into obscurity. And this wasn't overnight success. It was just me creating infrastructures that work. And then when the right opportunities came, everything worked. So if you're looking for a get rich quick scheme, this isn't it. Like if you're looking for a way to go viral or magically make money, this is not it. But if you're looking for a sustainable way to build your creator business that doesn't require you to constantly be on, like if you don't post, you don't make money. That's not good. Or that, if you're looking to build something that doesn't require or doesn't depend solely on brand deals or platform algorithms, something that gives you real leverage over your time and income, then this can potentially work for you. And like I've said, the big difference between creators who make it and creators who don't is not talent. It's not luck. It's not even the size of your audience. It is infrastructure. Like real systems that can handle volume, automation that works while you sleep, and having a business model that isn't dependent on your constant attention. I feel like we've gone way too long with this. So if I would sort of wrap this up for you, let's say it was too long, you didn't listen, this is what I'll tell you. Social media is powerful, like very powerful. But it's only as powerful as you building a system around it, building a business around it. Views don't pay bills, virality don't pay bills, even brand deals only pay bills, they don't pay bills consistently. Because there's some times of the year that brand deals won't come at all. So I'll say, in my opinion or in my experience, what really pays your bills is having something to sell, a system that helps you sell it, and an audience that trusts you enough to buy from you. And the reason why I'm sharing all of this with you is because I genuinely believe that we can all benefit and we can all earn from this creator business. Everybody can win. Your success doesn't take away from mine. My success doesn't take away from yours. All right? I'm trying to pick the right finishing words. But if anything, I feel like you really need to be serious with it. You need to give it time. You have to be willing to do the work that most creators won't. Build the infrastructure, create the systems, sell your own products instead of just chasing brand deals. Spend time understanding what you want to do, why you want to do it, who you're doing it for, if it's important to them, if they would trust you enough to pay you. That is work. And I feel like out of all of this, what I would say is the most important thing is to be patient with that process. Like my first year where I made 14K, the 14K didn't just magically happen. It took 8 months, right? And that was barely $1,000 a month. It wasn't big, it wasn't glamorous, but then I kept building, I kept optimizing, I kept showing up. There were even some months I didn't show up at all. I was really, really just down and, I wasn't depressed, but I wasn't just happy. And now I'm on a track to actually double that. And the year after that, I'll double it again because my system works. Not because I'm special, not because, I have all of the skills in the world, but because I built a system that scales. So if you want to build something similar, please start with step 1, figure out what problem you solve, and everything sort of flows from there. And if you found this helpful in any way, then I would really love to know, how helpful is this for you? And I promise you, I'll keep sharing the real numbers, the real struggles. And if there's any updates to this system, or if magically one day something new happens, I'll share with you. So at least you can update yours, you can learn from my experiences, what I've learned, what mistakes I made, and be able to, make things better for yourself. I always tell you, we're in this together, and I'm willing, I'm here to walk you through it. So, thank you for staying with me all the way to the end, and I'll talk to you soon.